We have some breaking news here on Golden State Warriors today as the Dubs have made a signing in free agency, and it is not a center. We will get into that, but first, make sure you subscribe to the channel for the best Warriors free agency coverage. We've been cooking up so much content for all of Dub Nation, and we do that year-round and throughout free agency, multiple videos per week. And when breaking news happens, I don't care where I am, Chat Sports Studios, here at home, on the road, we're going to talk about what happens with this basketball team. So Adrian Wojnarowski with the news just moments ago here on Sunday night. It's just before 9 o'clock Eastern time that free agent guard Cory Joseph has agreed to a one-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. He is a client of Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Joseph averaged 7 points per game and 3.5 assists for the Detroit Pistons a year ago. First reaction to this signing for Joseph and the Dubs, the Warriors still have not addressed the center position, which is a huge issue for this roster and for their hopes of trying to compete for an NBA championship. They're still, and I know it's early in the free agency period, at a point where they have Kevon Looney and Draymond Green as their front court players. And that was the biggest blemish on this roster in the second round against the Los Angeles Lakers. They were exposed. They lacked front court depth. Steve Kerr had to go with Looney out of desperation, had to play JaMychal Green, and sometimes Draymond Green was playing the 5. So really, after Kevon Looney went out of the lineup to get some rest, he was also sick to start one of those games, Draymond had to play a lot of 5. JaMychal Green had to man that 5 spot as well, and the Warriors did not have a true center on this roster. So when you stack them up against a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, Denver Nuggets, who figure to be in the way of the Warriors trying to compete for an NBA championship, that is still a problem on this team. And Cory Joseph is yet another point guard who the Warriors have added here. He's a point guard. Steph Curry, Chris Paul, they can all play and handle the basketball at that point guard position. And I thought it was funny because Adrian Wojnarowski had tweeted out also, the Warriors have reshaped their backcourt this offseason with Chris Paul, Brandon Podziemski, and you put them alongside Steph Curry. And it's like, well, that's a lot of point guards to have on one team. Is the hope, is the expectation, is it an idea that maybe Golden State is trying to preserve Steph Curry for the playoffs and because he's 35 years old and have him play off ball a little bit more? He can do it. He's been able to flourish. Given his shooting ability, the movement in this motion Steve Kerr offense, and his ability to not have to demand the basketball, he can be successful there. So maybe Mike Dunleavy Jr. is thinking that once the playoffs come around, Steph Curry is not going to be as gassed as he was in that second round series against the Lakers when his shooting numbers were somewhat subpar for Steph Curry's standards. And is that because there was so much mileage on the tires and he couldn't get any help from Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and some of the other players on this team? And maybe the thought for Golden State here is to have more ball handlers and creators on this team, because when you scout Cory Joseph, he is a really good defensive player. He can guard ones, he can guard twos, he can shut down opposing guards and really cause havoc on that end of the floor, especially in the open court. He is also a strong player offensively who does have a pass-first mentality. So there's not going to be too many cooks in the kitchen in trying to score the basketball because he's a very solid distributor. Has the ability also to hit for very high percentages from three-point range and from twos. Just a very efficient player, and a player who is a veteran who's going to be very affordable and cheap, who will fit with what the Warriors like to do offensively, and he can be the guy to find a lot of the other offensive players here on this team. One note, too, is that Cory Joseph can play some shooting guard if needed. positive clubhouse leader, international experience, a former first-round pick, but his defensive chops, I think, are what are appealing to the Warriors here because they clearly need to get better on the defensive end of the floor. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA last year. Having Andrew Wiggins for a full season, as well as Gary Payton, and bringing back Draymond Green will certainly help that, and then Cory Joseph can be a pest on the defensive end of the floor. Cory Joseph, the background on him, he has been in the league since 2011. He was a first-round pick, late in the first round, 29th overall, I believe, if I have my memory correct, out of Texas. Yes, 29th overall in that 2011 draft by the San Antonio Spurs. Throughout his entire career, he has been a solid rotation player. 7 points per game and 3 assists throughout plenty of time at the NBA level, which spans more than a decade at this point. And last year for Detroit, bad basketball team, 6.9 points per game, 3.5 assists, so Woj rounded it up to 7. Fake news, just kidding. And he was able to connect on about 43% of his field goals and almost 39% on his three-pointers on about 3 attempts per night. So shifty ball handler, can kind of get to the cup, create a little bit for himself, very good distributor, can score really at all 3 levels, a dribble, pull-up, 3-point range, but really I think it's the defensive tenacity. That's the component that the Golden State Warriors really like here. So you kind of look at what the Warriors have done so far. They obviously prioritized bringing back Draymond Green because he was the first signing, actually, once free agency opened on Friday. 4-year, $100 million contract with the player option on that 4th year. And Cory Joseph is now the other player that the Warriors have signed. They did miss out on Eric Gordon. Some of the Chat Sports cohorts who did a video earlier, I'm technically off today, talked about that on a previous video on Golden State Warriors today. So clearly they were looking for another guard in Eric Gordon. He plays more off-ball, obviously, can shoot the 3, been in the league for 15 years, pretty solid defensive player too, and now the latest addition here is Cory Joseph. As for where the Warriors can turn next, there are some solid bigs who are still out there. This Dario Saric signing still hasn't happened. And on day 1 of free agency, Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area, very credible reporter, said Dario Saric is most likely going to sign with Golden State. If you can get him, then I like the direction here. But here we are on day 3 of free agency, and the Warriors still haven't addressed center. Now, there are some solid centers still out there. Mason Plumlee, Nerlens Noel will be very cheap as a switchable big who can throw down some dunks on that pick and roll, alley-oop threat. Dario Saric is more of a 4, but he can play the 5. He can stretch the floor a little bit. So I think that's the thinking here for Golden State. Hopefully that center position is next, because I know fans have been absolutely clamoring for Golden State to add and beef up that front court, because that's really the big weakness on this team right now is that center position. Appreciate everybody for watching here. Look, this is why you subscribe to the show. We give you all the latest Golden State Warriors news and rumors year-round, and during these periods, NBA free agency, we bring you the best content out there on YouTube, I believe, with covering this basketball team. So appreciate everybody for watching. I'm Chase Senior. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if the Warriors make another signing, and when they do, because it is inevitable, we'll break it down here on the show, as well as all of the latest news, rumors, and analysis.